They convinced millions of people to trust them. Investors gave them billions. The media called them visionaries. Some built fake companies. Others built fake empires. One disappeared with over $4 billion. Another fooled some of the most powerful people in Silicon Valley. And all of them had one thing in common. Their success was built on lies. These are 10 people who built billion-dollar lies, the most hated man in America. Martin Shkreli didn't invent revolutionary technology. He didn't build the next Apple, one, and he didn't create a billion-dollar startup. But somehow, he became one of the most infamous businessmen in the world. In 2015, Shkreli bought the rights to a life-saving drug called Daraprim. Overnight, he raised the price from $13 to $750 per pill. The internet exploded. News channels called him evil. Politicians demanded investigations. And suddenly, Martin Shkreli became the face of corporate greed in America. But the drug scandal wasn't what destroyed him. Behind the scenes, investigators discovered something much worse. For years, Shkreli had been secretly lying to investors. When his hedge funds lost millions of dollars, he tried to hide the losses. Instead of admitting the truth, he moved money between companies and created the illusion that everything was fine. But eventually, the entire scheme collapsed. In 2017, Martin Shkreli was convicted of securities fraud and sent to prison. The man who once acted like a financial genius became one of the biggest cautionary tales in modern business. But compared to the next person on this list, Martin Shkreli looked small. The fake Tesla. Trevor Milton wanted to become the next Elon Musk. And for a while, people believed he actually could. In 2014, Milton founded a company called Nikola. The idea sounded revolutionary. Electric trucks, hydrogen technology, a clean future for transportation. Investors loved it. The media called Nikola the next Tesla. At one point, the company was worth over $30 billion. There was only one problem. The technology barely worked. But nobody knew that yet. Nikola released dramatic promotional videos showing futuristic trucks driving across highways. The company claimed its vehicles were fully functional. There was just one catch. One of those trucks wasn't actually driving itself. According to investigators, the truck had simply been rolled down a hill. Behind the scenes, former employees started exposing even more problems. Fake demonstrations, misleading claims, technology that didn't exist. And investors began to panic. In 2020, a major investigation accused Trevor Milton of lying about Nikola's technology and business. The company's stock collapsed. Billions disappeared. And the man once called the next Elon Musk was eventually convicted of fraud. But the next person on this list didn't fake electric trucks. He faked an entire financial empire, the Wolf of Wall Street. Jordan Belfort didn't look like a criminal. He looked like the American dream. A successful stockbroker, a millionaire, a rising star on Wall Street. But behind the luxury cars, the parties, and the endless money was one of the most infamous financial scams in modern history. In the 1990s, Belfort founded a brokerage firm called Stratton Oakmont. His salespeople were trained to do one thing: sell, no matter what. They pushed worthless stocks onto unsuspecting investors. Then, as prices rose, Belfort and his partners secretly sold their own shares for huge profits. The investors were left with massive losses, while Belfort became incredibly rich. At its peak, he was making millions of dollars every year. His company employed hundreds of brokers, and the money never seemed to stop flowing. But eventually, the authorities started paying attention. The FBI launched an investigation, and the empire began to crack. Belfort eventually pleaded guilty to fraud and money laundering. He was sentenced to prison, and the Wolf of Wall Street became a symbol of greed on Wall Street itself. But the next person on this list didn't manipulate stocks. He convinced the world he had built a revolutionary company. The company was worth billions. The technology barely existed. The billion-dollar blood lie. Elizabeth Holmes wanted to change medicine forever. At least, that's what everyone believed. She dropped out of Stanford at just 19 years old. Then she founded a startup called Theranos. The idea sounded revolutionary. A single drop of blood. Hundreds of medical tests. Faster, cheaper, and more accessible than ever before. Investors loved it. The media loved it. And Silicon Valley called Holmes the next Steve Jobs. She appeared on magazine covers, spoke at major conferences, and built a company valued at $9 billion. There was only one problem. The technology didn't work. Behind the scenes, Theranos struggled to perform even basic blood tests accurately. Employees raised concerns. Experts questioned the science. But the company kept making bigger promises. For years, investors and partners believed the story, until whistleblowers started speaking out. Then journalists began investigating, and the truth slowly emerged. The revolutionary machine that was supposed to transform healthcare was largely a lie. The company collapsed. Billions of dollars vanished. And Elizabeth Holmes was eventually convicted of fraud. The woman once compared to Steve Jobs became one of the most infamous fraudsters in Silicon Valley history. But the next person on this list didn't fool investors. She fooled millions of ordinary people around the world. And then she disappeared without a trace. The crypto queen. Ruja Ignatova didn't just sell a product. She sold a dream. A dream of easy money and financial freedom. In 2014, Ignatova launched a cryptocurrency called OneCoin. She claimed it would become the next Bitcoin. People believed her. Thousands became millions, and millions became billions. She filled stadiums with supporters, spoke on massive stages, and presented herself as a financial genius. Investors poured money into OneCoin from all over the world. There was only one problem. OneCoin wasn't a real cryptocurrency. There was no functioning blockchain, no real technology, and no legitimate way to verify the company's claims. But by the time authorities realized what was happening, billions of dollars had already disappeared. Investigators later described OneCoin as one of the largest fraud schemes in history. Then, in 2017, Ruja Ignatova boarded a flight and vanished. She never appeared in public again. No interviews, no conferences, no explanations. To this day, nobody knows exactly where she is. The woman once known as the Crypto Queen became one of the most wanted fraudsters in the world. And those were 5 people who built billion-dollar lies.